Must be tough being Clark Kent, isn't it?
And there's that interesting conversation they have, and I'm not so sure where I am on this. The way that Donner and Mankiewicz treated the dynamic between Clark and Superman,
I know where you're going with
is
this.
not something I'm a big fan of, because
Yeah,
he speaks of Clark as if he's a different person.
But if it weren't for him, I never would have met you.
And Lois does say, like, what?
But
you are Clark.
he is you.
It's like, I don't really think I'm on board with that.
I'm a fan of, and I think you're the same, is that Clark is who he is. When he knew he would be Superman as well, which is in his adult years, he realizes that the Clark Kent that he is on the inside, he does have the theatrical eyes. He puts on the slumped shoulders and a lot of the clumsiness and the awkwardness, but that's still him.
Yeah.
And yes, this movie is another view, and a lot of writers, anyone who writes Superman for the comics too, they have to decide which version they like. But this version is, because she says, it's like,
It's kind of confusing.
Not to me, it isn't.
he goes, I kind of like being Clark. And
Yeah.
it says that, and you're like going, no, you are Clark. You
Clark,
kind of
yeah.
like being Superman. And he goes, I kind of like being Clark most of the time. He goes, of course, even when I make myself look like a fool.
Right.
Clark.
So, yeah, I don't know. And this makes me think of our viewer, Kathleen. She's a big fan of the Lois and Clark show.
Lois and Clark, as in
the 90s TV show with Dean Cain.
Again, has a huge fan following.
There's a famous line in that series that she mentioned that it's often quoted from Lois and Clark.
Lois, Superman is what I can do. Clark is who I am.
Yes, that's a great line.
And I'm like, that's the Superman. That's the Clark / Superman that I prefer.
Now, I don't find, any offense at this version. It's just that is the way they decided to have it stated, that they're having Superman say Clark is this thing I put on. And you're like, well,
even though he grew up as Clark,
yeah, it's like,
so weird.
You want to check with your mom about that? Because as far as I know, she's still alive in this movie, bruh.
And Lois even refers to him as Clark, you know, when they're together.
Excuse me, sir, would you care to step outside?
Clark.
Yeah.
What's she going to just call him, Superman?
By the way, she's really good at, because I know I would slip up. Once you know the secret, she's really good at, like, when he's getting his ass handed to him in the diner.
Clark!
She's like, oh, Clark! And she never lets on. And then when he shows up after he's got his powers back, and she hasn't seen him, but he shows back up in the suit, and instead of going, Clark, she's like, Superman. I'm like, you're really good. Because once you've gotten past that disguise, I would just constantly be going like, Clark, you're back. I mean, flying. I would have been, the secret would not have been safe with me. I would have had no chill with the secret.
Right.